Okay, let me just check if we're live. Oh, yeah, we're live. So I'm just going to, I think I'll start with the introduction. I'll introduce myself, and whilst the rest of you introducing yourselves, I'm going to tag all of you on the video, right? So how is everyone doing at home? This is so weird because I can't see myself, but I have an even better view. I've got three amazing, beautiful, gorgeous, phenomenal women staring back at me. And I'm just so excited about getting into this broadcast. So before we start, I'm going to introduce myself to some of you who do not know me. My name is Rhoda Harriet Kataba. I have more names than that, but those are the three names that I use. I am the founder of Her Story Matters, and we do so much stuff to empower women. We love empowering women. We love empowering them in business, in leadership, and personally, we share women's stories. We hold platforms, panels like this. So where women can come and talk about different areas of their expertise. The women here are experts in their fields, and you're going to hear from them in a bit. I'm also a business development coach, and I love helping people discover their purpose and kind of like build up on their strengths and ignore the weaknesses. I always say that major on your major, minor on your minor, right? So I'm going to let the ladies introduce themselves before we begin, because I think they'll do a greater job than I will. So we'll start with Professor Honor, then we'll go to Laura Roberts, and then we'll go to Queen Chioma, and then we can start. On to you.
Hello, everyone. I am Professor Ona C. Miller, and I am a global educator, and I have to say I'm a purpose provoker as well. I am the founder of Female Civility Initiative and National Female Civility Day. And there are so many branches to the Female Civility Initiative, and one of those branches is educating female leaders, empowering them to lead their own lives so that they can lead others. We are an intercultural, intergenerational, interracial, and international initiative where we welcome all females around the world. And what we do is empower them not only to be leaders of their own lives, but we also empower them to educate others. We also empower them to understand who they are, their identity, be secure in who they are so that they can, uplift society, interact with society, make changes in society, within their own communities, within their own families, within their own nations. We break barriers and we build bridges. And we just love each other and we celebrate each other, as we just did here recently on National Female Civility Day. So I am a leader that celebrates all females around the world.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Awesome. Laura?
Hello, I am Laura Robertson. I am a coach, speaker, trainer, and owner of Beautiful Potential. I kind of a little bit about my journey. My family and I came here with $40 and a dream. And so fast forward to today, in December last year, God put in my heart to leave my job, and I'm just kind of like, really? So I followed my path to, I left my job, and then it brought me to where I am today, and where I try to coach and train, mentor women on the business aspect. So as part of my company, Beautiful Potential, we have a beauty shop where women come in. Not only do they get their makeovers, but we minister to them in that way to help them feel beautiful, to get the photo shoots for them, but help also mentor them personally and professionally so that they feel beautiful from inside out, so that they are confident, and we empower them to lead that life that they were meant for. And kind of along the lines of, all of us, I think that's why we're here. We have something in us to want to help empower other women, to help them kind of do what we have done, and kind of hold their hand along the way and bring them to where they could be to their full potential. And that's why my company is Beautiful Potential, because if you break it down, it's be you to full potential.
Amazing.
Awesome. Let's hear from you.
Oh, thank you so much, Rhoda, Harriet, for inviting me once again, and so lovely to be with these amazing women. So thank you so much. And my name is called Queen Choma Wogu. I'm an international motivational speaker. I speak in different countries, in the UK. I've spoken in Dubai, I've spoken in Bulgaria, Turkey, Nigeria, and the list goes on. I'm also a TV presenter. I've been on TV for over 10 years, so I've been on different TV channels. I am also a professional singer. I'm a former multiple award-winning beauty queen, and I'm the founder of She Rises in the Media, which is my new media platform, which I decided to launch to help women entrepreneurs to break into the media, to highlight what women are doing in the media as well. And also, I work as a publicist and a PR and media coach, and that's what led to me wanting to have She Rises in the Media. So in June of 2020, this year, so two things happened this year in June. I became a 10 times Jubilee award-winning participant of conferences, but that also means I'm a 10-year speaker of conferences. So I had that big moment through the Bulgarian Comparative Education Society conference. And at the same time, I launched She Rises in the Media, and also launched my online conference, my first conference, which is the She Rises in the Media online conference. And it's so amazing to have brought together a lot of women together from different parts of the world to be speakers in the conference. And then we also moved on to having a media panel discussion and roundtable. And my work is just to continue to do these three things. My mission is to teach, speak, and heal. And whether that's on stage, whether that's through my music, whether that is through my podcast, whether that's through live streams, it just doesn't matter. As long as I am being used by God to touch people's lives, to inspire them, and definitely, most certainly, to also lead them to build their faith in the Lord as well. So that is me, and that's my journey.
Thank you so much, ladies, for introducing yourselves. I just want the viewers at home to let us know if there's any echo or anything before we start. If we're streaming okay, if you can hear us okay, if there's any issues, if there's any delays, because sometimes it's really hard for us to tell whether anything is wrong before we start. I'm just gonna check. I think someone's sending, okay, so seems like we're good. Seems like we're good, yeah. Anything? I'm not seeing anything. Guys, please engage so that I know. Streaming okay. Hi, Anita. Thank you so much for letting me know. Okay, cool. So we'll start. We are having a series of questions today, or areas of discussion with regards to future leadership, but specifically, I focus more with women in leadership. And I'm passionate about women leadership because I feel like we need more women leaders. I feel like when we have more women leaders, we'll be able to collaborate even better to get rid of issues in society. And hence, the beginning of these amazing conversations that we're having today. So the areas that we're going to cover, if we have time, is areas to do with collaboration, visibility, personal development, and heart of effective leadership. So if you have any questions, please pop them on there. Don't wait until the end because we might not have enough time. We're 9 minutes in already, and I love keeping time. We're only going to be here for an hour. I promised the panelists we're only going to be here for an hour. So I don't want to take more than that. I'm aware that they've got so many other things to do. So if you have any questions to any of the speakers, do let us know. So the first question I'm going to pose onto the speakers is going to be with regards to personal development. And I'm going to ask Queen why personal development is essential. Why do you feel personal development is essential?
Yeah, that's such a good question. So I believe I really embarked on personal development from 2008. Before that, I was definitely still working on myself, but I didn't really think of it as personal development. So I was doing my degree at the time. I was studying a degree in law and communications, and I changed to mass communications and sociology eventually. But I think it was when I picked up my first book on success, and it was The 7 Rules for Success by Fiona Harold, who is one of the leading coaches in relation to life coaching. And then from there, I just was on a roll. I picked up another book and I invested another book. And I found that I picked up a book called Push for Success by Sarah Khan. Once I bought that book, I literally became a new person. I became so ambitious. I started to go for my dreams. I started traveling. I started to expect more from myself. And I've never looked back. I feel like personal development is so important for us to become more of the best versions of ourselves. And when you are the best version of yourself, you actually begin to make a bigger impact online, in real life, your friends, in relation to your family, your friends. You don't walk around being anyhow you want to be. You walk around with a high level of confidence, charisma. You have more integrity. You have more power. You become more encouraging, more enthusiastic, more optimistic. So people will like to be around you more, and you will shine more, and people will be changed. Their lives will change as a result. So I think that personal development is so important. It's important to develop yourself, develop your skills, your qualities, and to go to that next level. Don't be afraid of looking at ways that you can become more of the best version of yourself.
That's awesome. I think, Queen, there's something wrong with your sound. I've just been told that you're echoing. So I'm going to give you a chance to kind of like fix that if there's any issue there. And I'm going to move on to to ask Professor Honor, why is it essential? Because inevitably you are an educator. You spend a lot of time dealing with personal development. Why do you think it's essential?
Self-development is essential because if we are not taking care of ourselves, if we are not investing in ourselves, if we are not developing ourselves, how can we be effective in helping others? How can we even say advance in our own lives and then help others advance in their lives? Self-development is so important. It's crucial. It's actually vital to our success. It's actually vitally important to our existence. It literally affects not only our lives, but it affects everyone around us. Wherever we go, our environment, it affects our families, it affects our friends, our associates, our partnerships, it affects our collaboration, and it definitely affects us as a leader. Because if we don't grow, then how are those that are following us, how are they going to grow? It's kind of like we put a limit on ourselves, and then we also put a limit on the ones that are following us, the ones that we're being an example to. It stunts our language, our growth, our speech. It stunts, just everything that's connected to us becomes stunted. Because we refuse to grow in our own personal development. So it's crucial. I would even venture out to say that it is life-threatening, that we need to be doing our self-development.
Definitely. There's one thing that I was told by my coach when I began thinking about personal development and my very first coach. And one thing she said to me that stuck with me is your outside can never be bigger than your inside. So it starts with your inside, which is the personal development. And the outside, whatever your work you're doing, whatever impact you're making is as a result of what you have within you. So you can't build on the outside what you don't have on the inside. It's just not going to last. And I think it's so important to keep that in mind, because many people want to do the outside work and have the visibility and go and collaborate whilst they haven't really worked on themselves. Which leads me to the next question, and I'm going to pose this to Laura. What are the general guidelines to map out your personal development plan? And I know you've also worked with the John Maxwell team, so you have like a proper insight with regards to this from that point of view. So how do you think we could start mapping it out? What are the general guidelines? Because one of the questions that I got, not even one of the questions, most of the questions that came in were around, where do you start with personal development? So I think we can spend a bit of time, each of us sharing how we started and how we mapped it out.
Definitely. As you said, John Maxwell said, a person of value, adds value. So in order for us to be able to add value to others, we definitely do have to add value to ourselves, because we cannot give what we don't have. So in order for us to map out, we definitely have to get it on schedule. What is not scheduled does not get done. So that's the first and foremost, is to have a schedule, and whatever it is that you're working towards, make sure, even if it's, maybe a half hour a day or an hour a week, make sure you make time for personal development, because it's so crucial to your success. Even if you have to invest money into yourself, because it's going to pay off, and you're going to consistently grow. None of us got to where we are right now if we did not get our continuing development, learn different things, and have that mindset. Having a growth mindset is so important as well, because that's going to take you further. And being open to learning, knowing that there's different things, that you can learn every day, and just being able to, I think the main thing and the most important thing is having it on the schedule, having it mapped out, and making sure that you are following it. No excuses. It's one of those non-negotiables. This is your livelihood. It's like Professor said, you stunt your growth when you do not keep learning. And for me, personal development is very important. Education is very important, being that I had a father who is a teacher, or was a teacher back in our country, but because we had to flee out here to America because of the language barrier, he had to work in factories. So him and my mother had to work in factories. So ever since I was ever since I was little, they always told me, education, education, education. You do not want to work hard. You do not want to work in factories. So in my mind, continue to educate. And so I think that's the other two. The number two is making it a priority and finding your why. Why is it that you want the personal development? And that's going to help you. As long as you know your reasoning behind doing things, it's going to bring you back to that, and it's going to help you take the actions that you need in order to get there. So always coming back to your why. When you feel like, oh, this book is too long, or oh, I just don't want to do this, or oh, I don't want to attend this class, go back to the reason why you started in the first place. And my reasoning was my dad's, voice in my head, you don't want to work in the factory. You don't want to work. So that's what kept me going. So going back to your whys, making sure that it's scheduled, and do it, and just do it. Because ultimately, by you doing it, you're going to be able to add value to others.
Definitely. Queen, tell us the practical steps that you took the first time you decided to go into coaching.
Yes. So basically, in relation to coaching, I decided to. Well, it's so interesting because I kept having people reach out to me through YouTube. So I had some my YouTube channel, and I kept having people say, "Can you coach? Can you coach? Can you coach? Like, again, can you coach me on this? Can you coach me on that?" And I was thinking, well, I'm not really a coach. I'm helping you with these motivational videos, but I'm not really a coach. And I got to a point where the demand was so high, so I realized I needed to do something about it. And so I decided that I would look into this. I took on a couple of clients at very low cost. I didn't even know what I was really doing, but I just coached them at a very small fee. And I think I started to have more people reach out to me and book me. So I put some prices on my website. And eventually I realized that I do need to take my business to the next level by understanding how to be a coach and invest in. So I found a coach online, and I think it was when I found my Australian coach, Jessica Nazarali, at the time. That's when everything shifted for me. $1,000. First of all, I bought her ebook, and then from there I bought one of her mini courses, and then from there I decided I'll join her group coaching program, and it was about $2,000 plus. I went for it. I didn't pay in full, I paid in installments. And so start small. You don't always have to start by investing huge amounts of money, but you do need to eventually invest. I mean, Laura, you said it really well, that we didn't get to this point by just wishing for this. We had to develop ourselves. And so by me doing that, I understood the coaching industry. I understood how to actually put together my coaching practice, how to create sales pages, how to pitch to clients, and the types of price points I could charge for my packages and programs. And I never really looked back, because from that point onwards, every program I did since, it was just all a stepping stone to that next big level in my business. I do think that since then I've worked with like hundreds of clients, and I also had a beauty pageant business too. So everything I learned there also helped with the pageant business. You can do it on your own for a while. I was doing it on my own. I didn't need a coach at some point. But you do still need a team, by the way. So sometimes you need a coach, sometimes it's a team. But eventually what happens is, if you want to go to that next level, there is always someone out there that has the qualities and the skills that you're looking for, and that has the experience to actually nurture you, to encourage you, to take you to that next level. And you need to find that mentor. Somebody is actually having a very good time right now while you're struggling, while you probably feel like you're suffering. And you just need to find that mentor, because when you find that person, everything will get easier. You don't have to do this alone. So look for your mentor today.
Definitely. And one of the reasons why I asked Queen that was because it took other people to actually recognize what was inside her for them to actually know that they wanted to be coached. I know sometimes it's difficult for people to recognize, what do I want? What areas do I need to develop? And one of the ways that you can actually recognize what areas you want to develop is when you look at someone else and you actually admire what they do, and you find yourself following them. And what I usually say is, what is within that person, you actually recognize, you just don't know it yet. You like it, you recognize it, and it's something that you want for yourself and is already within you, because you're not going to be interested in something such as cooking if there's nothing to do with cooking within you. So a good way to get started, because one of the questions was, how do I recognize the area that I want to work on? And sometimes you recognize it by looking at someone, liking what they do, and being drawn to that person. It's more than being drawn to what they do. It's also who they are, what they represent. And that can kind of like give you guidelines on areas you probably need to work on, and give you an idea of what you have within you as well. So I just, it's a different way of getting kind of like the idea of what you want to do. And Professor Ona, I'm going to ask you this question. Do you think that personal development and spirituality are two different things? Or can they complete each other? If so, how? That's a loaded question. So
it is. I think that they're two different things, but I think they complement each other, and I think they also complete us. And the reason why I think that they're two different things is because, as you know, there's many people that do not believe. They're not believers. They do not practice any type of spiritual awakening or awareness or practices. but yet they still, are conducting businesses. They're still making impact in the world. However, I can just say personally, from my life continues to grow, continues to evolve, continues to produce, because I do have the spiritual aspect and the spiritual piece to partner with. My life, that spiritual element gives you clarity of mind. It gives you direction. It gives you wisdom. It gives you just that extra push sometimes, as leaders, when you want to stop, when you want to quit, when you want to give up, when you want to throw in the towel, it's that extra push. And then the steps to the spiritual side of this is, we're leaders, so we need the spiritual piece where we stop sometimes when we're overwhelmed and we meditate. We stop sometimes to replenish and refuel ourselves. We stop sometimes to, and this is all a part of self-development, honestly. We stop sometimes just to, just rest our mind, because as leaders, we're constantly thinking, we're constantly trying to figure out the next step. We're constantly trying to figure out the next thing to implement. We're constantly trying to figure out, and sometimes we don't rest. We don't rest mentally, we don't rest physically, and we don't rest spiritually. So that spiritual piece, the step is to just, let me relax, let me rest. And we do that by engaging in that spiritual aspect of things. For me, it's stealing away, getting by myself, talking to God, hearing what he has to say. And then, like the other day, I was asking God, and I posted this on my page. I was like, Lord, what else can I do to help this world, be better? What else can I do to help the next generation? What else can I do? And he quietly just told me, look, all I need you to do is your part. That's it. Don't get overwhelmed. Don't start panicking on me. Don't start, just because sometimes what we do is if we don't add that spiritual aspect to it, we'll start getting involved in things that we're not even supposed to touch. We start getting involved in things that start overwhelming us because it is actually someone else's area that they need to be doing. We lose focus. We're no longer as effective as we need to be. We're no longer channeling on, our track, our path, our road, our purpose. And so the spiritual piece to that is very important. And I have to say again, it's actually life-threatening. It's purpose-threatening. It's focus-threatening. It's our existence being threatened, actually. So it's very important, and we need it. We need it, and I think that's what all of us do. We try to provide that peace, that peace and that element, even to those that may not believe. When they look at us, they have the desire to believe. They have the desire to know what it is that we do. And they have the desire to know, how are they doing it? And because we don't do it in our own strength. So I think that piece, the spiritual aspect of it, definitely completes us.
Definitely. I think something very, very, very important and very key is when people talk about spirituality, some people think it's more about religion, but it really isn't, because when we think about spirituality, we're thinking of practices like meditating. We're thinking of practices where you just stay in the quiet in nature. That is also spirituality, because I think with leaders, one of the things that I experienced myself was when I first started business, I was on the go 24/7. And it was because I was passionate about what I was doing. And you get to a point where you're so burnt out, but the passion is driving you until you can't move anymore. And that's when I realized, actually, I need to take time out, replenish, take time out, meditate, take time out to charge myself. Because sometimes when you're serving, because that's what leaders do, they serve. And in that place of service, you're giving from within yourself. You're giving the wisdom, you're giving your energy, you're giving your words, you're always giving. So you need a place where you can just sit alone, with your thoughts, just be refreshed without having to deal with everyone else. And spirituality can look very different to different people. And it's within that place of meditation that you actually recognize, actually, what I did was not right. I need to react in a better way. So how can I react in a better way towards this? And then you try to identify where your challenges are, and then you focus on that. And that's personal development, because personal development is not just getting a coach and working through different areas, because that is just part of it. But personal development is also going within and realizing, actually, I don't have the best emotional intelligence. I'm not resilient. I need to work on my anger. I need to work on, my temper. I need to work on my impatience, and all of those things all constitute to coming together in the area of leadership. So, how do you think spirituality and leadership actually go together, Laura?
Hello. Spirituality, as a leader, you definitely have to, like you mentioned, come back to that place where you're pouring back into yourself. As Professor also mentioned, you're always giving. So as a leader, you need to fill yourself up, because if your cup is not full, then you cannot give from an empty cup. So you as a leader have to always be full and stay positive. And when you talk about spirituality, it also comes aligned with like mental, right? Mental strength, and your mental state of mind as well. And so you have to be able to be in a positive state of mind, because people look up to you. So you want to be able to give the best of yourself and not sit down, because then other people, it's going to be kind of an effect on the team or whoever you're leading if you're not in a state of mind, because then it's going to reflect on them, and then they're going to start feeling that kind of way because they're looking to you for guidance. So unless you're in a good spiritual state of mind, you're not going to be able to give that to who you're leading. You're on mute.
Oh my goodness. Listen, guys, this is the first time I'm using this system, so you all have to forgive me, right? I'm a bit at the moment, right? So there's kind of like a rave. I think it's an illegal rave quite close to me. Their music is really loud, so I have to mute myself sometimes so that the music does not come through. So sorry, guys. I'm going to ask our Queen of Visibility, Queen Choma, to tell us why it's important to be visible.
I've done the same thing. Okay. So I remember when I was trying to win this pageant. This was a long time ago. And I just remember just completely trying to really win the crown. And I remember they said to us, we need to get publicity. And if you can have publicity, it can help you to break into the media and attract good PR for your brand. As a personal brand, basically. And I remember just being, throwing up all these media sources and trying to be seen and trying to get them trying to get them to put me in their magazines and their newspapers. So it started off that way. And then I realized what happened as a result of me being visible. I ended up on television. I ended up putting myself out there. I realized that so many opportunities came. I raised more money for charity. I ended up winning the crown of Miss Charity UK, and then I ended up competing in Disneyland Paris. So there was this big boost of a buzz around me, a buzz around my mission, a buzz around my charity fundraising. I was able to raise more money for charity. Now, how does that go into the business side of things? what happens is when a woman is not visible, when a woman is hidden, when she's not heard, when she's not seen, number one, she can't shine the way she truly is meant to shine. She cannot reach the people that she's meant to reach. She will not be able to do the philanthropy work that she would like to do, because if you're hidden, if you're not visible, then how can you raise that money for charity? How can you really go out there and speak on platforms? How can you be seen and heard with your message and help young girls and women and other men out there that are needed, that are really looking for the help that you're looking to give? And what I realized is visibility is one of the most powerful ways to change lives, especially when you have a story, a mission, a vision, when you have gifts, when you have products and services. So you're only hurting yourself if you're not visible. You've got to get yourself out there. You need to take the opportunities to be seen. We have so many platforms. We have podcasts, we have TV, radio, newspapers, magazines, on-stage platforms, summits, panel discussions like these. We literally have like thousands and thousands of opportunities to be seen. The podcast platform alone, now they have 1 million podcasts on Apple Podcasts. We have no excuse. If we hold ourselves back, we're hurting people. We're keeping people in bondage. We are blocking the success of our potential clients and our audience. And I know Marie Forleo said this, that if we're not basically, if we have a product or service or something and we're not selling the heck out of it, she said that we are stealing from people that need us the most. So by us hiding, I believe we're stealing from people.
Wow, that's powerful, and it's making me feel like I need to be more visible, right? So, Ona, can you tell us, in the early stages of building your brand, what were the biggest challenges in developing visibility?
I think the biggest challenge for me was, the self-talk. Like, wait a minute, who's going to want to hear my story, and just talking yourself out of it. Oh, I sound stupid. Who wants a refugee story, right? Like, who wants to hear whatever. There's a lot of people who are struggling and going through that. But, I knew that in order for me to be able to do God's purpose, like Queen said, that I have to jump on platforms and I have to start conversations about my story. And that's kind of how Rhoda and I met, because she saw one of my posts about my story. And that's how we connected. So, and it connected, my story has connected me with so many different people and platforms for me to be on. Had I continued to keep it to myself, I wouldn't have been able to bless other people and wouldn't have been able to get out there and share my story. And, by meeting Rhoda and, other people who had me on their platform, now I'm able to reach a bigger audience. So visibility is definitely important, but the challenge in the beginning is going to be your self-talk. You have to talk yourself out of yourself. So you have to just don't listen to yourself, because you talk to yourself the most of the time. So sometimes you just have to ignore yourself and just do it. And, instead of thinking, what if blah, blah, blah in the negative, start thinking more of what if people do love me? What if I do start getting a lot of people coming to me? So start to replace those negative self-talk with positive ones. And that's what I had to do when I first, got my story out there, because I hadn't told my story for a long time. And then, when God sent me towards this path in my life, then I'm like, well, I have to be vulnerable and I have to be able to share my story. So.
Thank you so much, Laura. I'm just going to ask you, how have you managed to differentiate yourself from others in a similar space to you? And how have you sustained your visibility over the long period of time? Professor Miller, I will send this question to you.
Well, the way that you stand out is just being you. Remove the masks, remove all of the facades, and just be the real you. People want to see realism. They want to see transparency. They want to see, honesty when it comes to you. And when you talk about, visibility, you are when people see you, your image, your presence, that is a silent voice all by itself. You don't have to say anything. You can just enter the room, and you give people the option to discern you. You give people the option to really see you for who you are, and to look deeper than just the outside of who you are. So it is your visibility is your silent voice. And then, like Laura shared with us, it's a vulnerability. It's being vulnerable and saying, this is just who I am. You can take it, you can leave. It's okay if you leave it, because I'm really trying to just reach that audience that I'm meant to reach. I'm really trying to just touch that audience that I'm designed to touch. And I think the way that I've maintained that in such a vast variety of women empowerment, women leadership, there's so many things out there for women, is literally, I have just been that unique me. I don't pretend. I don't try to be somebody else. And I think sometimes that's where we fail as women, and especially as women leaders. We think we have to follow this path that someone has already structured for us, that someone has already laid out for us. And that is not the case. Develop your own path. Be that trailblazer and come up with something different. And I think we have to be creative. Sometimes we look at other women, and it's okay for looking at other women to be inspired, to be encouraged, to be motivated. But when you look at them, be inspired to create your own unique identity. Be inspired to be innovative and create your own path. Don't be inspired in the sense that you take on what they have and then tweak it a little bit and then put it out there. So I think that is one of the most important things about visibility, is just being yourself, being true to yourself, and then put yourself out there. And let me just say this too, in transparency, people are going to see your flaws. They're going to see you fail. They're going to see you sometimes not make the best decision. They're going to see you sometimes not say the right thing and pronounce the word right. And, maybe you're having an off day with your hair and your lipstick is too bright, and they're going to see where you've gained 5 pounds. And guess what? That's okay, because somehow or another, that is going to help you relate to someone else, because I promise you that you're not the only one. I promise you there's tons out there that are going through the same thing. So visibility is very important, but most importantly, to maintain that visibility is just be yourself, be unique, be different, be creative, and really just listen to what God is telling you to do. Most of the things that I've produced, that I've established, that I've brought forth, that I've given birth to, literally, it was God saying, do it. You do it. And then I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to do this? And then you just make those steps to do it. But he gives you creative and intuitive things that doesn't look like anybody else. And so that's how you maintain it, is it's just being yourself, being who God has created you to be.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Queen, I'm going to ask you this next question. What are the practical steps to become more visible? So just give us like 3 steps to become more visible.
Okay, thank you so much. So typically what I teach my clients is, I normally say, number 1, you need clarity. So I always say, get clear in relation to where you want to be seen, because it's all very good and well that you want to be in Forbes or Huffington Post or on the Today Show or on ITV, BBC, and the list goes on. But if we're vaguely wanting to have these opportunities, but we're not really, really clear in relation to For example, have you really sat down and gone on Forbes and looked at their articles, seen the kind of content they have there? Who do they interview? Have you really spent time understanding what they're looking for? Have you really spent time looking at Cosmopolitan magazine? Or is it just that it looks nice and if you're in it, oh, it looks so fabulous? And so get acquainted with these sources, follow them, do the research, take notes, create a spreadsheet, put things into a spreadsheet, and have that clarity is number one. Number two, the second thing to do is to get some training. I mean, Professor Onya, you said some really amazing things, and so did you, Laura. It's so true. Our flaws will come out. Our errors will say the wrong thing. Like, it doesn't matter how trained you are, you will still fail. But one thing that you can do to really improve yourself and to work on this PR and media, your PR and media strategy, is to, number one, go and find a course you can sign up to. There are so many courses out there on media, PR. It could be TV presenting course you need to do, a confidence and charisma course. There are many courses out there. There are books, there are resources. I normally recommend the book called The PR Masterclass. The PR Masterclass by Alex Singleton. I normally recommend that. I recommend just doing something, whether it could even be as big as a degree or a master's. It's up to you. You know what you need to do. I've got a degree in mass communications, for example, and I have a degree, I did communication studies as well. I did media studies as an A-level. So sometimes you need to pay the price in terms of your academic pursuit. And sometimes it can be a mini thing. Get yourself some media training. If it means a coach, publicist, work with them if you have to. And then number three, the third thing that you need to do is you need to be relentless for this success. You need to be relentless to be in the media, because some people tell me, I've pitched once, I've pitched twice, nothing happened, then they run away. I pitch 40 to 40 sources a day. So sometimes it's 40 a week, but I'm constantly pitching, but you need to follow it up with actually following up. So don't just pitch and then you run away. Pitch and then pitch and pitch and pitch, but then follow up with these sources. Follow up again, connect with them on social media, warm up to the media. Sometimes you need to do something creative, create a video and speak straight to camera, or send them your media kit through the post. Don't be predictable with your pitches, because if it's always the same thing, then of course it will be boring. Try and be creative, try and get their attention by doing something different. So these are some of the ways to be visible in the media, and in relation to social media, it's the same thing, but just really focusing on understanding that social media is about being social. So you need to obviously focus on engagement and things like that. But with the media side of things, that's how you'd be visible in the media.
Oh, thank you so much, Queen, for all of that. Thank you so much, ladies. It's amazing, and I can't believe the time. We've literally got about 13 minutes left. Can you believe that? It feels like 10, right? So we're going to go on to collaboration, because I sent out questions. I sent out a blast to very many women in my community, and I asked them, within those topics, the questions that they would love to be addressed. And the women have been so amazing. Thank you, ladies, so much for coming back to me. And your questions are, what we're using today. So I'm going to go to collaborations, and I'm going to ask Professor Miller to tell me what are the essential tools to a successful collaboration?
Very good question. The successful tools to a great collaboration, first of all, is I think it's important who you are collaborating with. Because collaboration, you want to come out with something positive. You want to come out with a product or a service or a initiative or a program or an organization or a cause that is going to advance people, that is going to advance, the world, the economy, a policy. You're wanting to do something that's going to enhance and advance someone, some people, some nation, some country for the better. So I think it is very powerful before you start a collaboration to make sure that you are collaborating with the right people. Because the reality to collaboration is you don't really necessarily have to have the same mindset, but you do have to have the same mission and the same goal in mind in order to get that end result. You see all the time, people collaborating that they don't necessarily agree on everything, but they come together just to get this agenda pushed. They come together just to get the mission done. They come together just to make sure that this particular thing is going to be produced. So I think it's very important who you're collaborating with. And then secondly, when you're collaborating, I think it's important to make sure that the vision that you're collaborating about is clear. No one has, I think, ill intentions and ill motives about it, that it's understood, that there's clarity. And then also, I think for collaboration, it has to be something substantial. It has to be something of quality. It has to be something, like I said before, that's going to make something better. Otherwise, we don't need to collaborate, because then we're going to cause detriment. Then we're going to cause, havoc or chaos. So those are the three things that I would say that's important to collaboration is, first, who you collaborating with. I think that the vision of it needs to be clear, and you should have clarity. I think the last part of that is to make sure that, it's for the betterment of the people. It's for the betterment of your life. It's for the betterment of those that you're collaborating with. It's for the betterment of, other leaders, the other generations, the other people that are around you, is what collaboration is about, or else there's no need for us to come together.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to add a bit on that. And I see so many people wanting to collaborate. And I think a really good tool is building the relationship. I always say, I don't have to be your friend to collaborate with you, but we need to have a relationship. Because I feel like sometimes people just throw that word in the air. They want to collaborate, they want to partner, and they haven't really built on their relationship. And I always look at collaboration kind of like a marriage. There's the courting phase where I need to know what you like. I need to know what you like. I need to know, do you have integrity? Are you candid? I need to know, are you honest? I need to know, are you trustworthy? I need to know, like, are you hardworking? Do you take things really slow? Do you take things really easy? Or are you really persistent? Because when you go into that collaboration, when you plan to launch something and do something, and you find that you're the one doing all the work and you didn't do research on your partner, then you realize actually you've announced your collaboration. You have to do all the work because they are just not hardworking. So I think it's definitely a process to be able to kind of like find out people's values. You don't have to agree on everything, like you said, but you have to think about what is valuable to you. Because if you've taken your time to build something to a certain point, you put your blood, sweat, and tears onto something, you really want to be able to build it, and you don't want it to kind of like be destroyed. It's kind of like a marriage, when someone wants out, you try and work things out before anything else, So I think it's something to build upon and kind of like just really work on that relationship, because it's not everyone you'll be able to work with. I'm going to ask you, Laura, what are the qualities of having good collaboration? Like, what have you found to be good qualities in collaboration?
I think with collaboration, you definitely have to have a connection with that person. You have to build trust. If you don't have trust, and if you're not on the same page, then you're not working towards, one vision. So those qualities are super important when you're having a good collaboration. Trust, making sure you know that person, making sure that they know you, making sure you're connected and you're vibing, because if you're not on the same page, then your mission is not going to get done, because you're constantly bumping heads, or you have one vision, this person has another vision, and you're not going to get your goals accomplished, whatever you're shooting for. So definitely a connection is one of the biggest one, is being able to have a connection with that person, because connection builds trust, right? So if you feel connected with someone, you trust that they're going to do their part, and they can trust that you're going to do your part. So trust and connection, I think, are the biggest ones to have as far as a good collaboration.
Definitely. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask you, Queen, recently you did a She's in the Media conference. If I'm mistaken, you're going to correct me. And I found one of the things that I found very fascinating with that conference is because you had different women from different parts of the world doing different things, taking part in it. And I found that was very unique in its own way, because I haven't seen anything media oriented done like that. What worked best for you as an organization and as a person to be able to do that? What worked best for you to be able to do that?
Oh, thank you so much once again. This has been so incredible, and thank you to everyone that's part of this. And I guess what really worked for the She Rises in the Media online conference, I think it was just, number one, it started with a vision. And I just remember getting to a point. So I had this vision to set up She Rises in the Media, and I did wait. So this is where the spiritual side comes in. I waited. I made sure not to take any action until I was completely sure. But I just had a mini Instagram page that I was sort of like playing around with the idea of posting a few graphics, but not willing to do anything to do with the conference until I was completely sure. I found that what worked is I had to look at what was working in the conferences that I was attending. So I've attended so many. And so I was able to gain some inspiration and look at the best practices from some of these conferences. And I decided I wanted my conference to have the good ethics that I had seen in some of the conferences out there, especially the Bulgarian Comparative Education Society conference. I have to mention them because they're just amazing. Like, this is just one of the best conferences I've ever attended. And so in a way, just having some role models, conference role models. And then from there, I had to take a risk, because this is, like you said, I've not really seen this being done. And another thing I had to be willing to do is to get out of my own way in relation to my mindset. Laura was sharing that, sometimes you're like, oh, I want to be visible, but can I really do this? And am I ready for this? And I actually kept thinking that no woman would join. And I kept thinking that this isn't going to work. And this is going to be like, I don't know why I'm doing this. Like, oh my gosh, maybe I should just cancel it. And so I had 2 women for a while. And then once I was able to work through my mindset and just really believe that God would provide and he would move, I started to take different action. And then we ended up having all these amazing women that joined. And I think the media panel discussion was amazing, but just even the people that participated in general, I realized that you have to take that real big, bold step of faith, and that you will never really know you'll never really know what success looks like until you take that leap. So don't be afraid to take a leap in relation to a conference, a book you want to launch, a course, a product. Even if you see small results at first, just keep going, but go with passion and go with enthusiasm, go with faith. If not, you will back down and you may just cancel and run away. So yes, so just have the follow through, I guess, was what I'm saying in a nutshell.
Thank you so much, Queen. The next question is for you, Professor. I have seen you do amazing work with the female civility, and it's got so many different branches, and you collaborate with people so beautifully, which is so amazing. You have the book side, the author's side of it, then you have the little Amazons, which I really love. And I guess one of the questions I'm going to ask you is, and I know that you're still growing in the areas of collaboration, you're still building, you're still learning, but what has really worked for you in what you've done so far? What has really worked for you in the areas of collaboration?
What has really worked for me in the areas of collaboration is connecting with people from a place in my heart. I think is what has really worked for me. Making sure that when I'm collaborating with them, that I'm conveying my heart to them. You know, when we first meet, and I think I did this also with you, Rhoda, when we first, you know, have that interaction, especially now, everything is virtual. So you have to kind of really give of yourself a little bit more than normal just to convey that message, just to convey your heart, just to display who you really are. And so in my collaboration with others, you know, because you're collaborating with people all over the world. And so everyone has, you know, you have all these different interferences, you know, tradition and culture. And sometimes there's language barriers. Sometimes, you know, there's being able to interpret really what they are saying. And so you have to put your heart into this to be able to sense and feel and discern when it comes to collaboration. But I think the key part to collaboration also, ladies, and to the audience, is not being afraid to not partner with those who don't have the same vision. Not being afraid to say, you know what, this is not going to work because we don't see the same thing. We don't have the same vision. I see that maybe your ethics or your principles or the way you do things, you know, it's not, you know, congruent, or it's not going to benefit what I'm trying to do. And I think that that has been the most thing for me, is not feeling obligated to have to partner with someone or have to collaborate with them or have to be even included in what they are doing. Sometimes when people give you an invitation to come and collaborate, you have to sometimes assess it and then say, is this even for me? And then be willing to say, no, this is not for me. I thank you so much for thinking of me, but no, and be okay with that. And I think as females and as women in leadership, sometimes we feel like we have to have our hands in everything. We feel like, you know, that we have to be a part of that. We feel obligated to have to do it. But I think that is the biggest thing in collaboration, is just making sure you know, that you're even supposed to be a part of the collaboration and not being afraid to say no if you're not.
Thank you so much. I think that's really amazing, to be able to kind of like just really go within. And I think because we are all communicating virtually, we have to go that extra mile with regards to vulnerability. And I think we spoke about vulnerability before, because we all need to be very vulnerable to be able to be in that space of leadership. So I am so aware that we've gone 2 minutes beyond our time, but I'm going to ask you cheekily if I'm going to borrow some of your time so that we can wrap this up very nicely, because one of the themes that I've seen coming up a lot is with regards to effective leadership. But before I go to that, that will be our last question. Ladies, please, I am so sorry for taking extra time. I promised 1 hour, but we're going over. I'm really sorry. I'm going to ask you, Laura, to tell me what has worked with regards to what you're doing, because you've recently launched your business. And you've got different aspects within your business. I know you've got beauty, I know you've got coaching, and I know you don't provide all of these services. I know you're collaborating with other people, especially when it comes to beauty. You've got a photographer, you've got makeup artists, you've got someone to dress them up. So that is collaboration at its finest. You know, you see a complete picture, but the team was really massive. So what has worked for you during this time, and also considering the hardships with regards to what is going on with the quarantine and everything else, but you've still been able to pull it through. What has worked for you in this time?
I think that what's worked for me is the ability to create and bend. I've had to change things so many times to finally get to, you know, where I want it. And I'm sure I'm going to have to continue to change. You have to just try to see what works, what doesn't work. And you're going to continue to create. And, you know, even when you think you have everything together, and even when you're like, boom, that's it, something else, you're going to get a curveball, or something else is going to come up and you're like, well, that's not working. Let's try something else. You know, let's try it this way. but being able to create, being able to bend, being able to, just mold it into what your expectations are with God's lead, of course. And being flexible is the main thing I think that's kind of sustained me until today, and just creating that. As far as the leadership side of things, for being a leader and being in charge of this time, you have to go back to your roots, and you have to remember to be a servant leader. As long as you are a servant leader, as long as you're serving, you're going to be able to help your team or whoever you're leading see your vision. You're going to be able to help because they know that you have their interest in mind, and they're going to be able to see your vision. And going back to the collaboration, also asking for their input as well, and being able to all work together and flex and bend whenever you have to, and creating new things and being able to see what works, what doesn't work, and getting feedback is also important. Making sure you get consistent feedback, like, hey, how's this working? What am I doing? What do you like about this? Like, what should I take away? Constant feedback from your team, or even people you don't, even from your friends or people looking from the outside looking in, like, just, hey, what are your thoughts on this? Not that you have to take everything that everyone says, but at least it gives you an idea, and you're being open, and you're being able to bend, and not just having a fixed mindset, but being able to grow and expand and try different things, and not being afraid to being comfortable, being uncomfortable, not being afraid to try it, not being afraid to step out of the realm that you've never even stepped into, and just allowing God to use you in that way.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to go to the last question. There's so much more, but ladies, I think I'm gonna have to borrow you again at some point, right? Now that we have this going on, now we're all friends and we like each other. So the last question to all of you ladies is going to be, what qualities are important to you when it comes to leadership? So I'll start with you, Queen.
Okay, thank you. It's just so funny. Let me just quickly throw this out there. But we actually meant to be having one conference a year for the She Rises in the Media. But because I'm always over the top of everything, I always need to go far and beyond. So I said, no, we're changing the rules, and it's going to be a bi-yearly conference. So we have our next one in November. And the reason why I'm saying this is because we decided to make it be on leadership and on influence. And so when you invited me for this, I was like, oh my goodness, this is just, I can't believe it. And so I want to say thank you once again to all of you. And I really want to say that it's so important that I've literally lost what I was going to say. Can you please just repeat the question? I think I was just so excited for that moment, but please repeat the question.
Okay, that's all right. So what qualities are important to you in leadership?
Okay, perfect.
I know it's a really broad question.
Yes. Yeah, so this is where I was going, but I just completely lost what I was going to say. But yeah, so what I was going to say is that it's really important, if you want to be a great leader, you do need to have influence. You need to be influential. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring up that story. And I just believe we need to be influential. So it's so important for us to make sure that we're readers too, because they do say that readers are leaders. So we need to be studious. We need to be willing, as many of us have mentioned, is we need to be willing to educate ourselves. So being studious and being willing to be influential. How can you be influential if you don't have any influence to offer or any value to offer? So you need to have value. To be an effective leader, you need to be well organized. You need effective management skills. You need to be a people person, because if you are good at managing, but you're not a leader and you're not inspirational, you do not know how to bring the best out of people, motivate people, give them the desire to be positive, make them want to work on your project, make them want to show up and be better and add value to your team and to your organization, to your project, to your mission. If you're not able to bring out the best in people, it's going to be really difficult, because you cannot be a leader without a team. You cannot not collaborate. You need to collaborate. Collaboration is so important. So you need to work on your influence, your being studious, to learn from other leaders. And then, like I said, most certainly be willing to work on your people skills. Because if you do, you'll most certainly be an effective leader.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Queen. Laura, what qualities do you think are in a leader that would be effective? What qualities would you look for or are important to you?
Yeah, so, as Queen said, influence, as John Maxwell also says, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less, right? But I also want to add, as a good leader, back to the servant leader, you want to be a leader that is coachable. You want to be a leader that solicits feedback. You want to be a leader that is always growing and learning from your team, and being open and vulnerable to your team. If you've made a mistake, own up to it. But soliciting feedback and being able to connect with your team and allowing them to let you know, what is it that, how can I lead you? How do you like to be led? What feedback do you have for me on how I am leading you? Or how can I do better? What can I do better to serve you today? So I think being coachable and being a person of influence is super important.
Professor, what is important for you in areas of leadership as a leader? What is really important to you? What do you look out for?
The things that are very important to me, the first one is integrity. I'm looking for integrity. I'm looking for excellence. I want to know your level of excellence, that you're not just doing something to just be doing something. I'm looking for how you're willing to do a self-assessment of yourself, check yourself, make sure that you're making the changes that you need to make. I'm looking for character. I'm looking for someone who has the heart for people, has the vision for people, and they're not just in a position. I'm looking for someone that is postured to make sure that things are going to be carried out. And I'm looking for someone who can activate and mobilize people. So those are the main things that are very important to me. Number one is integrity. Number two is excellence. Number three, I would have to say, would be your ethics, your values, your morals, just all of those things, which means you need to do a self-assessment, in that area. And then I'm looking for someone who can activate and who can mobilize. So those are all of the things that are very important to me when it comes to effective leadership and looking, if I were to be looking for someone as a leader, someone as a mentor, someone that I can look up to and maybe receive advice from, or in that capacity, those are the things that I would be looking for.
Thank you so much, leaders. And I think also someone who gets out of their own way, because I think sometimes, and this has been echoed all through with all three of you, when you talk about having that vision, but then when you collaborate or when you start doing the work, you realize that your own mindset or your own way of doing things does not work. So I think leaders should be able to be very flexible in that sense, and also to recognize that just because you believe in something and you want something done a certain way, it's not going to look like that. And I love how you mention integrity, because sometimes what we see as integrity is not what someone else sees as integrity, which is so weird. And I think these are things that we also discover. We might feel like we're honest and the other person is not honest. So I think definitely in that area of just being able to be very fluid when we're dealing with people, is very helpful. And I think it's one of the things that I learned, because I was very regimental in my ways and in my thinking. Stuff had to be done a certain way. And then when people get involved, it's chaos, and all of a sudden you're thinking, how am I going to get a grip of and out of this? And you're losing your hold on things, and everything is just so frustrating. So I just want to thank you, ladies, for taking time to be here, because I think these are necessary conversations. I've learned so much from you ladies today. And I'm just going to be journaling after this. I'm just going to be like, yeah, and there was this point and there was that point. And your input is so valuable. You are seen, you are valued, you are loved. I mean, I love you guys. People love you. People really enjoy being with you and listening to you. And that's why you have the influence that you have, right? And I just want to thank Wiggins for all, staying with us all the way through. She is amazing. She's been following the conversation and having inputs. I want to thank you, Jeff. I want to thank everyone who's been sending me messages telling me I'm echoing or they can hear the music. I am so sorry, guys. I mean, illegal raves, what can I do, right? And I want to thank everyone who has been putting in comments, everyone who's been watching. And we don't know you've been watching because you haven't actually typed in, you haven't been visible, right? Anytime you go on a live, you have to be visible, right? When you're watching something, you have to be visible. You have to let people know that you're watching because you are valued. So I want to thank you, speakers, panelists, once more, and I will definitely be boring you again. Did you hear that, guys? I need, this is proof. They've all shook their heads. They've all said yes. So they can't come back and say no, because, this recording is a yes. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much. And thank you, viewers, for watching this. Please share this video because we need to have more of these conversations. If you want to see something different, give us the topics. We'll talk about it. We're not afraid. We're happy to be vulnerable. So thanks once again and take care. Bye.